Well, Mississippi State hit the field for their first fall scrimmage, and let's just say it wasn't all pretty. We've got thoughts on what stood out, what didn't, and what it means moving forward.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Jaron Spor. I'm a national college football writer of Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got scrimmage notes to talk about today. The running backs had a really good day. We'll talk about that in the next segment. And then we got to give our top dog of the week, and it will be from the scrimmage. Just a little preview hint there. But let's get into the scrimmage takeaways. I've been reading multiple reports. Obviously, as people know, the scrimmage is not open to the public. It's not like your spring red and white game. So it's just a lot of the people that cover Mississippi State having to put out their sourced notes. And so I've been reading several of them. And kind of what stood out was the defense. Jeff Lebby even said that the defense forced several turnovers and noted that Kelley Jones, the redshirt sophomore cornerback, had a couple of defensive touchdowns. Isaac Smith had a couple of sacks and was another standout on that side of the ball. That shouldn't be surprising. But Kelley Jones, he had 29 tackles last year, no interceptions, only one pass deflection. He's expected to start on the left side. Big day for him.
And it's good. It's a good thing because, we touched on it when we talked about our position previews.
Right.
Cornerback's a big question mark. So if you have a guy who's going to step up and claim, one side of the field like that, that's huge. Now, on the flip side, considering all of those turnovers came against your first team offense,
we would assume.
You assume, we don't know that for a fact, but considering where he is on the depth chart, you assume that those are coming off of your first team offense. You hope it's because he made a couple ridiculous plays, but it's concerning that your offense is doing that at this point in the season. I mean, in the off season.
Right. And we'll get into the offensive standouts next segment. We already kind of teased it with the running backs having a big day, but yeah, I mean, that's not good, especially because it's not like Mississippi State comes into this year really excited about the defense in terms of it's not like they were like top 10 defense last year. And then you're hearing all these notes about how the defense is dominating. Like that stuff, you're like, okay, I kind of expect that. We had a great defense last year. We're going to expect.
And 125th. How good the D line has been. The changes on that. Nothing's been said about the secondary.
Yeah, that right. And that's what, a lot of the changes were to the defensive line, like you mentioned. I haven't seen anything about, hey, they got after the quarterback a lot, and that's what forced a lot of these things. Like, I haven't seen any of that just yet. Not to say that that's not what happened, but I'm sure we'll get more notes probably throughout the week, honestly.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's a concern if you're forcing a lot of turnovers or offensively, it's a concern. Defensively, it's great. You need to create a lot of turnovers, and that's something this defense, if they can do that during the season and not just against their offense, that'd be massive for Mississippi State.
Yeah, that would be huge, and it's great to see because, like I mentioned, it's been a kind of a question mark. We didn't really know who would step up there because of all the people that were brought in. Don't have a ton of experience or don't have a ton of experience at this level.
Right.
So if you have guys making plays like that, that is great. Obviously, Isaac Smith flying around, making plays in a million different ways. It's what we expect from him. And
I like to see the sack one, though, because that was something that I mentioned even this offseason. Like, there's not much you can nitpick on Isaac Smith's game, but he didn't have, the sack numbers. And we even said, the sack numbers were obviously so low last year. Isaac Smith maybe could be a guy that kind of alleviates some of that and helps with some of that. I mean, he had, only 2 tackles for loss, no sacks last year. If he can be that guy for them, that'd be massive. Obviously, he's not going to be a double-digit sack guy as a, hybrid, but I mean, he's got to be able to create. Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, it almost kind of sucks for him because we just expect that level of play for him. So when he has a great stat line, it's like, yeah, no, that's what you do. But no, it's he's ready to go. Clearly, looks like some of that defensive secondary is kind of picking up some of the slack. Now, we talked about it. Where's the concern coming from? Is it the defensive line created a ton of pressure and forced Shapen, Cromenhawk, Taylor into a couple bad throws? Or is it the offensive line just wasn't good and let those guys run free at him?
Right.
Or did they just make a bad read? So, like we mentioned, it's close. So we have no idea what happened. We're going to have to wait for this to come out, and it could be 24, 48 hours or never exactly what happened here. So we just have to speculate, and great for the defense, but it's a little concerning at this point for the offense.
Yeah, and obviously, like I've mentioned, we're not out there getting to watch it, so it's hard to say, maybe they did the second team offense against the first team defense to, help give some confidence to the defense, and that's what the turnovers were.
But then that's concerning for another reason.
Right, and who knows exactly what they ended up doing, but most likely what happened was that it was the first team against the first team. That's usually what happens. But I do know, Kelley Jones, one of them was a 56-yard scoop and score. So fumbling, it is an issue, and I don't want to act like fumbling is not an issue. Fumbling is the one that I think is the easier one to correct between that and interceptions, because interceptions sometimes you're just confused as a quarterback, and that's not good. And that comes with the experience, and that's why with Blake Shapen, if he's being confused as a quarterback
real bad
this late in his career, and not to say he won't ever be confused. Heck, Tom Brady would still get confused on stuff at late in his career.
Never admit it, but
but stuff happens where they throw something at you weren't expecting on that play. They show one thing, and as soon as you go to throw it, they actually back out and do something else. That stuff does happen, but it shouldn't happen a lot. And so I'm curious to just know how well they handled the different looks, and defensively, that means they're being aggressive, punching balls out or ripping at the ball. And so that could be a big thing too. But the one thing I've always kind of compared turnovers to the 3-point shot in basketball. You can't rely on that come late in the season in big games against good teams, because good teams don't turn it over.
Yeah, that's very true. And you're right. Fumbles are so weird. They're not really ever – it's not a sticky stat. It's not year over year you can count on fumbles. And there's all kind – because, people with crazy math degrees have nothing better to do than study, fumble percentages. But typically, if you have 1 year where you lose all of your fumbles, the next year you're going to recover them all. So it's pretty much 50-50 every time, which, obviously when a weird oblong ball hits the ground at a weird angle, it's going to bounce in crazy directions. So it's luck who comes up with it.
Especially fumbles.
Yeah, that's what fumbles. Luck who comes up with it. You just got to have good ball security, which if they punched out 5 balls today and that's one that was recovered for a score, then that's a concern.
Right.
But if it's just one fumble that was a scoop and score, that's a great play by the defense.
Right. And turnovers are the things that can win you a lot of close games, though. I mean, that could be the difference. And this defense was really bad at just about everything last year. And so
one thing they were good at.
If that can be something they hang their hat on, that's massive. And also for an offense that, you hope is the strength of the team, although after that first scrimmage, you don't love it. Now, I will say this. Scrimmages really benefit defenses over offenses because they've been going against you. They know exactly what you run. They know all that. You can't really trick the defense because they're practicing against you every day. I mean, every now and then you can throw something at them that you haven't shown in practice yet to catch them off guard. But a lot of times you're practicing this stuff that you want to run.
And they even learn the tells of the receivers. So it's just.
But you still don't want to read all those issues that, came out of that first scrimmage, because that could be a concern. And as far as the offensive line, I haven't heard much about them. We'll kind of talk about that in the next segment, because for the running backs to have a good day, the line has to have a good day. Either that or it's a bad thing for the defense because they were missing a lot of tackles. So one or the other. But you would assume the line had a pretty good day in run blocking, which we think that this team's going to rely on the running game and the run blocking because it's just the offense has really good run schemes. And so you think that's going to be a strength of the team, as we've said many times.
Yeah, that combined with just the sheer size of this offensive line, it really makes you feel, and obviously the talent at the running back position, that the running game will be the strength of it. And you hope that you can get the defense to focus on that. And then you use the speed of these receivers to kind of take advantage of one-on-one matchups.
Right. All right, coming up next, we got to talk about some positives that came out of the scrimmage for the offense. We'll talk about that. All right, well, we've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where the Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of the endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal, Gametime Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. My favorite thing has always been the panoramic seat view. I've used it many times to see exactly where my seats are going to be. And a lot of times that's a game changer for me. If it's a spot that I'm like, okay, these are cheap, but I don't like where the seat view is, then I'll spend an extra money, a little bit of money to get that better seat view. And so I love that Gametime lets me see that before I purchase the ticket. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, some positives from the scrimmage, especially offensively. There was a ton of positives for the defense, but Fluff Bothwell had a touchdown, and Booth had a really solid day. Booth even had a 50-yard, one that was over 50 yards, his run was. Also, Kyle Ferry, who we think is going to have a really good year at kicker, kicked a 56-yard field goal. And the other notable thing out of the scrimmage was Luke Kromenhoek was the backup quarterback, not Kamario Taylor.
Yeah, there's a lot there, but I want to focus. I mean, the running backs having a big day. That's something that's very exciting for me. We've talked about this offensive line so much. So obviously the offensive line has a solid day, and we've talked about just how talented we both think this backfield is and how that's going to show up on the field. And to have both of them have days like that, it's one of those things like, hey, it's great. They had a great day, but then you remember what defense they did it against. And so you start to get a little bit like, wait, do I want them to have a good day? But no, it's a great.
The good running teams take advantage of bad defenses, and that was something even Mississippi State couldn't do last year. And so that's what you're hoping to see this year is they can hang their hat on something offensively.
Right. And I think that's something they will very much be able to hang their hat on. Booth with the big run, Fluff, just the consistent pounding force that he can be. And I mean, when you have those two guys just leading an attack, it's going to be, I mean, obviously they'll run into some incredibly talented defenses throughout the season, but it is going to be hard for a lot of teams if this offensive line holds up to just withstand this running attack.
Yeah, for sure. And again, you want this offense to take a step, like we've talked about many times, and we think that can happen if the running game takes the step we think it can, because we think that's going to be the strength of the offense by a mile. Like we think that they'll have some decent passing game, but we've talked about the limitations we think Shapen has. We've talked about how unproven the wide receiver room is. Like there's a lot of things that are question marks in the passing game. The offensive line is another question mark in the passing game. But the one thing we think they can do is run the football because of the running back depth they have, not just with Fluff and Booth, but also, Seth Davis, who we talked about last week, things like that. Like we think
Daniels,
we think they could be a really good running defense, running offense, and we think Blake Shapen could add in that. Maybe they throw in some packages for Kamario Taylor to add into that. Shapen's not going to be consistent.
Kromenhoek isn't like a statue back
there,
so.
Right. And Shapen's not a guy that is going to run a ton, but if a defense is zeroing in on Fluff and Booth, he could sneak away and get 5-10 yards. But that at least gives me some optimism that, hey,
Agreed.
The defense is forcing turnovers, which is a positive. They also are forcing stuff behind the line of scrimmage and for sacks. Again, stuff that they struggled with last year.
Mm-hmm.
And the offense is running the football really well. Those things can get you to that 4, 5, 6 win total that we think they could get to.
Yeah, it's true. And that's a formula that we've seen work for a lot of college football teams, a lot of NFL teams. If you can play solid defense and run the ball, and don't beat yourself. That's a tough team to beat.
Right.
If you're not, get a lot of self-inflicted wounds, you're running the football well, and you're not getting torched on defense, you become a pain in the butt to a lot of teams because you're hard to put away when you do that.
Well, and those are the teams that when they don't have the talent as other teams, as you mentioned, as a pain in the butt, they can beat some teams they shouldn't be able to beat because they can do things like that, run the football on people, and then force turnovers. Because they do that, they can be that pain to other teams, and that's what we've said this whole offseason. That's what Mississippi State needs to be. They need to become that team that's a pain, especially at home, where teams know if I go into Starkville, it's not a guarantee I win. And it's not a guarantee Mississippi State wins all those games, but it's a guarantee that when they go to Starkville, they're going to be in a dogfight, no pun intended, but they're going to be in a dogfight the whole game. And you can do that by being a really good running team and a team that forces turnovers.
And then when you factor in, Brenen Thompson's speed, Anthony Evans' speed, you have guys like that who can take the top off of defense. That stops those safeties from coming down in the box too much.
Right. Which should open up the run game even more.
Open up the run game. And if those guys ever do come down, that's when you send those two deep and you get them in a one-on-one matchup and you just
my guy's better than yours.
Yep, you just let them cook that corner on a straight, 9-route, go route, streak, whatever you want to call it, and just hope Shapen has enough time to let them get deep enough to just fire it out there. That's how you can kind of demoralize some teams that way if you're just pounding away at them and then hit the one big play.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm glad you mentioned that because when you have a good running game, a lot of times teams have to play more man than they do zone because zone pretty much can get you 4 or 5 yards because of how the teams have to play. So they have to play more man. Well, on top of that, if you're playing man and your safeties can't come up in the box because you got 2 wide receivers that fast who are just going to outrun people, now that makes it even more of an advantage for the offense. And we think from things that I've seen, Jordan Mosley, Anthony Evans, Brenen Thompson, that's probably your starters at wide receiver from things that I've seen. 2 of those are blazers. Jordan's not slow by any means. He's fast too, but Anthony Evans and Brenen Thompson will take the top off. And then let's say they're like, hey, we're going to bring the safeties down and we're going to play the DBs far off. That's when Brenen Thompson can do a little 5-yard hitch and you hit him, and that's like a run play because of everything that's up. And that's where the RPO game gets brought in too. So things like that just make your offense that much harder to defend, and it all starts with the running game.
And then one guy who hasn't been mentioned is the tight end with Traore. If you're playing man, he's an athletic tight end.
Right.
He's a big tight end. If that other team doesn't have a linebacker who can match him either in size or speed, that is a mismatch. You can take them to the cleaners on a 10, 12, 15-yard routes just over and over and over if they're just going to continue to line up in man. So as long as this offensive line gels and continues to open up holes for this running attack, it opens up the whole playbook. It makes this a tough team to beat. Not saying it's a team that's going to win a ton of games, but it makes every game a challenge for the opponent.
Yeah, and side note that I know no one will care about, but in our Dynasty League where at Mississippi State, Traore is a mismatch nightmare. I throw it to him almost every play because he is just dominant. All right, coming up next, we got to give our top dog of the week. Don't go anywhere. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Landon, who's your top dog of the week?
I had a hard time with this one, and both of them they're kind of boring takes. Either one, I've got to go with the running backs, though. They had a huge day in the scrimmage, both Fluff and Booth. So I guess we're kind of co-top dogs of the week for me. Both had huge days, and it's something I expect to continue throughout the season. So they're my top dogs. Isaac Smith was the other one that I was considering, but I really liked what we heard can't say what I liked what I saw, but what I heard from the scrimmage from the running backs.
Hopefully, if the season goes the way we think it can, it won't be their only time on top of the Dog League. Same with Isaac Smith. But I went with Kelley Jones. Obviously, when you have 2 defensive touchdowns, it's hard to not put a guy up there. I'm curious because it said he had a scoop and score. Did he force that as well? That's something that would even add to it.
That would be crazy. You don't see many scoop and scores that person forces.
Right, and so that would be a really good play by him. Maybe he just ripped the ball away or something. I don't know. But no, I mean, yeah, you have 2 defensive touchdowns. That's a really good day. And as you mentioned in the first segment, kind of solidified himself. And we didn't really think he was on the verge of like not being the starter. But I mean, that's when you have the 125th ranked defense, every position is open defensively, except for if you're Isaac Smith. Like, obviously, he's going to start. But every other position is open. And those are jobs that have to, or at least should be open. As a coaching staff, they should all be open. But no, when you have a day like that, that obviously should bring you excitement for what you think that the defense could become. Again, I don't think this is going to be some great defense next year. I said that I think they need to first take the jump into the top 90, top 80, somewhere around there, before we can really start putting expectations that, okay, now they can be a top 50 defense or whatever. Like, going from 125th to top 50 is just not realistic for a defense. And so first things first is make that big improvement into the top 100 because you can't be a liability anymore.
Right. And Kelley Jones had a great day. You know, he's someone I wanted to pick, but I feel a little guilty. I always go first, so I feel like I get the easy one. I wanted to give you the easy one once.
Yeah.
But no, he had a great day. Hopefully it's a sign of things to come with what he did, what we saw from Isaac Smith, that those guys are both going to be leaders on this defense and help, you know, you don't want to say change the culture because we're not in the building. We don't know what the culture is. But when you're 120th ranked defense, the culture can't be great. You know what you know what I mean? So hopefully those are guys who kind of change the tone a little bit, get everything moving in the right direction to where we see a continual growth. And it doesn't stop with just, you know, a jump this year and, oh, we're all happy with the top 80 defense, you know? So I think this could be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and another side note, Mississippi State's Twitter account tweeted out a Sunday scrimmage picture. Fluff Bothwell looks like he was made in a lab.
Oh, he's a freak.
He looks unreal out there. And so you hope, obviously, that results in him being a really good running back this year for it, and we think he will.
He's the first guy off the bus type of guy.
Yeah, he is. He is a massive, massive human. So we'll see what ends up happening as far as how the offseason keeps progressing. I would assume, I haven't seen anything, but I would assume they would do at least one more scrimmage. A lot of times teams do 2 or 3 scrimmages in the offseason. Obviously, it's also based on injuries. If there's some injuries or just it could be small stuff, just nagging stuff, then they might not do that. But I'll be interested to see if things kind of change that second time around. Does the offense win a little more than the defense that time? Right. So we'll see what happens. But all right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. All right, I'm Jaron. Check out my work over in Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We post daily videos Monday through Friday, so check us out over there. Also, hit that like, subscribe, ring the bell over on our YouTube channel. We've gotten over 700 now. We're up to 712 last I checked. Again, our goal is to get to 1,000 by early college football season, so definitely help us with that, and we thank you so much for the support so far. But yeah, we're excited for the football season to start. And
can't wait.
Yeah, can't wait. All right, until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.